per nostra fortuna abituale. Vorrei appunto ricordare come proprio dal punto di vista istituzionale, con il centro che dirige il Research Center for Music Iconography della City University di New York, noi abbiamo da poco, cioè in effetti da poco più di un anno, anche firmato un accordo di cooperazione scientifica, che dà un quadro formale, diciamo, inserisce in una cornice istituzionale una serie di collaborazioni che in realtà abbiamo intrapreso da lunghissimo tempo. Quindi ecco, aggiunto questa notazione di tipo personale che è indirizzata al professor Blažeković, ma anche naturalmente al professor Nico Staiti, che dialogherà animando appunto questo pomeriggio dedicato al seminario dottorale. E visto che i temi appunto che vengono affrontati riguardano, cioè si incrociano un po' gli argomenti dei temi di ricerca che sono molto importanti per noi, per il nostro dipartimento, per i gruppi di studio anche che dialogano, quelli dell'IMS, il gruppo di studio dell'ICTM, lo study group on Iconography of Performing Arts, di cui appunto il professor Blažeković è direttore, ma non sta a me minimamente entrare adesso nel merito del contenuto della serata. E volevo soltanto appunto augurare un buonissimo lavoro a tutti da parte appunto del Dipartimento e del direttore, e ripeto dal gruppo di ricerca e anche dal gruppo di ricerca che rappresento in qualche modo, che sicuramente entra in risonanza con tutte le tematiche che verranno affrontate questa sera. Quindi passo immediatamente la parola alla professoressa Restani come responsabile e coordinatrice del dottorato in beni culturali e ambientali, nell'ambito del quale è stato ideato e programmato questo ciclo di incontri che questa sera appunto si inaugura con la presentazione del professor Blažeković, che ringrazio di nuovo, e il contrappunto di Nico, il professor Nico Staiti, che sfortunatamente non vediamo benissimo, ma ai quali... Ah, bene, benissimo. E quindi buonissimo lavoro, e senz'altro la parola alla coordinatrice del dottorato, Donatella Restani.
Grazie molte, buonasera, grazie per essere qui. Molto rapidamente, sì. Nico, mi senti?
Sì,
Perfetto.
sì, qua ti sentiamo adesso bene.
Bene, perfetto, grazie. Sì, naturalmente questa giornata arriva come terza dopo 2 giornate dedicate alla musicologia, quindi il nostro dipartimento è come sempre, ma anche in modo particolare attivo su questo fronte. Fronte che fa parte anche del dottorato appunto di cui abbiamo appena sentito parlare. Lo racconto per chi ci seguisse dall'esterno, lo racconto per i nostri invitati che anche non lo conoscono. Quindi si tratta di un dottorato interdisciplinare e internazionale, Interdisciplinary and International PhD course of this department. Un corso di dottorato a cui afferiscono ben 8 dipartimenti, quindi si comprende la sua natura eterogenea, polifonica, se vogliamo, con 2 curricula e un curriculum in beni culturali, ambientali e ovviamente memoria, tutela, diritti, e invece un secondo curriculum scientifico in e internazionale, con anche il titolo in inglese, Science and Technologies for Cultural Heritage. Dove noi ci collochiamo in tutto questo? Noi ci collochiamo appunto all'interno del primo dei due curricula, Memoria, Tutela, Diritti, perché a sua volta questo comprende memoria culturale, ambienti, oggetti, diritti, ambiente, paesaggio, modelli di governance e di gestione operativa di beni comuni. Quindi capiamo già da questa presentazione quanto ampio, sfumato, multidisciplinare sia questo coacervo, questo ircocervo di dottorato a cui stiamo cercando di dare un'anima condivisa di ricerca e di didattica. Siamo nell'ambito appunto del primo dei seminari del ciclo di cui ci dirà Alessia, che è l'unica al momento dottoranda di questo dottorato, l'unica musicologa di questo dottorato. Quindi stiamo svolgendo un percorso proprio di accompagnamento alla nostra dottoranda musicologa all'interno di questo complesso ciclo di dottorato. E l'altra cosa che vi volevo dire è che noi stiamo all'interno del primo curriculum, quello sulla memoria culturale, la cultural memory, come patrimonio musicale, quindi come musical heritage, perché di questo ci occupiamo appunto insieme a immaginario religioso, collezionismo, conservazione e ricezione del patrimonio storico-artistico, archivistico, librario audiovisivo, storia e cultura delle civiltà mediterranee orientali, public history, anche nell'ottica della terza missione, tutela del patrimonio etnoculturale. Quindi, come si evince da questo quadro così complesso, la musicologia trova una propria sede, una propria ragione d'essere come patrimonio di idee, di oggetti, come patrimonio che va conservato, trasmesso, e abbiamo qui due grandi esperti internazionali di questa dimensione del patrimonio, degli studi sul patrimonio musicale. Zdravko, caro amico, Alessia mi aveva preparato una magnifica presentazione di Zdravko Blažeković. Io dirò solamente che lo conosciamo da molti anni come l'anima del Research Center for Music Iconography presso appunto il CUNY della City University di New York, come l'anima del RILM, come l'anima di Music in Art, insomma, quindi non direi, e anche presidente dell'ICTM. Ecco perché abbiamo qui Nico, perché Zdravko Blažeković è anche lui anfibio, come questo dottorato che è più che anfibio, cioè ha un'anima storico-musicale, eccetera, ma anche un'anima legata all'ICTM, cioè alla comunità internazionale degli etnomusicologi, e in quell'anima è il presidente del gruppo di studio sulla Iconography of the Performing Arts. E quindi con grande piacere che lo accogliamo qua, che lo abbiamo ospite ancora una volta, speriamo che sia solamente una delle tante per il futuro. e il suo interlocutore, appunto, il nostro collega del Dipartimento delle Arti, il professor Nico Staiti, professore ordinario di etnomusicologia, di cui anche a sua volta è nostro collega, amico da una vita, e di cui le sue ricerche spaziano in vari ambiti disciplinari, dall'etnomusicologia all'etnografia, all'organologia, all'iconografia musicale. Ecco ancora un'altra dei collegamenti diretti con la nostra Nicoletta Guidobaldi. Sia il professor Blažeković sia il professor Staiti si occupano degli studi della musica dei Balcani e stiamo avvicinandoci sempre di più al tema di oggi. La Alessia fra poco vi dirà come la sua ricerca si colloca all'interno di questo e quindi ecco, siamo arrivati ai Balcani, ai viaggi, alla Gusle, alla iconografia, agli strumenti e passo la parola ad Alessia.
Grazie.
YouTube bisogna che ti sieda lì.
Ci spostiamo, va bene. Ecco, grazie. Allora ringrazio la professoressa Guidobaldi e la professoressa Restani per il loro intervento. Io mi presento, sono Alessia Zangrando, dottoranda appunto del Dipartimento di Beni Culturali e sono appunto iscritta al dottorato in Beni Culturali Ambientali che ha menzionato la professoressa Restani. E nell'ambito del mio progetto di ricerca mi occupo della raccolta e dello studio delle testimonianze sonore contenute nei resoconti dei viaggiatori che attraversarono la penisola balcanica tra il XV e il XVIII secolo. Naturalmente tale tema si inserisce sulla scia degli studi già nati insomma, verso la fine degli anni 90 da un'idea di Franco Alberto Gallo e incentrati sullo studio dei racconti di viaggio come fonti per la ricerca sulla musica tra l'antichità e il Medioevo. Insieme alla professoressa Donatella Restani abbiamo quindi ideato questo ciclo di seminari dedicato agli ecosistemi musicali dell'età moderna e contemporanea, dandogli appunto un titolo che in qualche maniera vuole far riferimento al complesso degli elementi, dei contesti, degli attori, delle relazioni che concorrono a fornire notizie utili e a ricostruire, a valorizzare e tutelare il patrimonio musicale. Quindi si tratta di una serie di incontri che vedrà la partecipazione e il coinvolgimento di alcuni dottorandi, nonché l'intervento di diversi studiosi, docenti e ricercatori italiani e internazionali, che presenteranno indagini, risultati in ambiti di ricerca affini a quelli dei dottorandi e naturalmente emblematici soprattutto dal punto di vista dell'approccio metodologico e anche diciamo nella prospettiva di una ricerca sempre più inter e multidisciplinare, come poi si ricordava anche in alcuni incontri di questi giorni. E quindi niente, vi invito, insomma rinnovo l'invito a prendere parte a ai prossimi incontri, il primo dei quali si svolgerà il 16 di maggio e poi insomma a breve forniremo le date ecco, di quelli successivi. Quindi ringrazio tutti i partecipanti, ringrazio ancora le professoresse Guidobaldi e Restani e cedo la parola al professor Blažeković e al professor Staiti.
Nico, vedi lo schermo condiviso?
Sì, lo vediamo.
Grazie. Ti lascio.
So thank you. I have never had such a triple Holy Trinity introduction in my life. So thank you very much for that experience. And thank you, Donatella, for the initiative. Alessia for organizing all this, Nicoletta for advice, and I know that you also did a lot of input here. It is a pleasure to be here a second time in 6 months at this very table. So thank you. I have chosen this topic because of Alessia. Because I think the thesis that she is working on is very important, and I will tell you a little bit later why. So I will start with Gusle has been very important symbolic marker for people of Dinaric people of the Balkans, for Croatians, Serbians, Bosnians, Herzegovinians, Montenegrians, and in some way, and also Albanians, although they call the instrument lahuta, which is morphologically the same. And I will come a little in a minute to that. So before I start, I will. So this is enough. I start.
Perdonatemi, a Bologna sentite l'audio?
Sì, lo sentiamo.
Benissimo, grazie.
Non è sempre fluido, ma complessivamente.
Okay,
Yes, and the sound was a little bit off with the picture, but I think you got an idea. I just wanted to start with this video, so you will have a idea what I'm talking about, because it's Gusle. We know Gusle, but so this is what is the performance. This was a very important iconic performer, and this was recorded 2 years before he died. He was almost 90 years old, but it's for me it's interesting how good is his pronunciation. I know that you did not understand what he was talking about, but his pronunciation is just so clear, and he is a Croatian Guslar. We will come later to Serbian Guslars. Now there is a difference. In old days there was no difference, but and this is the point that I want to make here: how the instrument change, and from one instrument that was instrument of the whole region, now there is no more instrument of the region. There is a Croatian instrument and there is a Serbian instrument, and that happened because of political circumstances. So the instrument, the gusle, is made of one piece of usually maple wood carved together with a neck. And over this piece of wood there is a sheep skin, and it has only one string. It is used only to accompany epic singers. The string is made of horse, how you call that? The horse hair, yes. And it's about 45, 55 centimeters long.
Pardon.
Uh-huh.
Please, can you give me the pad? No. C'è un problema di audio, quindi tocca condividere.
È saltata la connessione.
Sì, adesso facciamo la ricondivisione. Condividi suono. Ok.
Voi riuscite a sentire abbastanza bene?
È ricominciata adesso?
Ok, adesso va.
Ok.
Good. No, thank you. So the only role for this instrument is to accompany epics, and you will see that the range is very narrow. So the musician never moves hand on the neck, and that is important for the point that I will make 2 hours from now. So I want to show you how important an iconic instrument is by showing you the money of the region. The first is on the left is the Serbian money from 1941, and you see this is a very famous guslar that I will come later on. This is a current, on the right is a current Bosnian currency that has the same guslar on it. And then a few stamps. You know, there are not that many the cases that one instrument reappears over and over and over on stamps. These are 2 stamps from old socialist Yugoslavia, and these are stamps from Albania and Kosovo, Lahuta, and then stamps from Bosnia and Serbian Bosnia. So this is you know, this stamps and money is something iconic that each country considers as a iconic symbol, and that's why I'm showing it, because we might ignore it, and especially now since euro is so bland, it doesn't mean anything. But in the past, currency and stamps have been very important for building national identity. So that's why I put here, and I think I have one more of stamps from Montenegro. So I will today examine a symbolic significance of gusle in 3 thematic directions. The instrument was in the 19th century perceived by foreign folklorists traveling in Dalmatia, Montenegro, and Serbia as the most iconic music instrument in the region, and pictures of a guslar were regularly included in the travelogues. These writings are very important for us because they document what was happening, and now that's why Alessia is, you know, I will show you in a minute that the writings that I know are not that old, and she is doing this all the time period, and that's why what she is doing will fill in the gaps that I have here in this paper that I'm telling you. The second section that I will tell you is use of Gusle by singers in Serbian military units. Every Serbian war that I can trace back to early 19th century had at least one significant gusler that we know. And then I will show you at the end how the instrument change influenced by the war of 1990s in one direction in Serbia and one direction in Croatia. And there is not often that we see in front of us that instrument changes in decorative way in such a short period of time in front of us. It's like fascinating. So let me start here. This is the book by Alberto Fortis. That is the earliest description of Gusle that I know. And I hope that Alessia will find all these earlier things. This is from 1774. And instead of telling you in English, I put the original Italian text, so you can read it for yourself. I give you a minute, so I don't embarrass myself with Italian. And with this description, Fortis included one actual epic that he translated into Italian from Dalmatia. And that epic was so fascinating for European at that time that in 1775 it was translated by Goethe from Italian into German. And Herder published it in 1778. And then Walter Scott translated it to English. And then Pushkin in 1835 translated it to Russian. And then, here I put a slide about it. And then here is Jean-Benjamin de Laborde, who translated it to French. So you see how one epic became so iconic that entire Europe knew it. And when I was in like 4th grade, we had to learn it by heart in school. So this epic is still alive, and more as a historical than epic but every child in Croatia will learn it. So 2 years after Fortis, there is a Croatian Ivan Lovrić, who wrote Osservazioni sopra diversi pezzi del viaggio in Dalmazia del signor Abate Alberto Fortis. So basically he commented on different aspects of Fortis's trip and description, and he has much longer description about Gusle, which is interesting because he is responding to Fortis. And this is only part. There is two other pages about performance practice that I left out, but it's especially interesting how he says that Italians are annoyed with this kind of music. So that is the Croatian side. Now we go to the Serbian side. 1823. Vuk Stefanović Karadžić is famous linguist, collector of epic songs. He published collections of Oh yes, they disappeared.
I think I'm
Mhm.
gonna ask you.
Beh, fortunatamente abbiamo Maddalena. Io prima non ho ringraziato
No.
Maddalena Roversi, che invece per noi è una specie di angelo custode, visto che hai parlato della Santa Trinità, restiamo in tema cristiano. È una specie di angelo custode che veramente ci aiuta nei momenti più disperati dal punto di vista lavorativo della nostra vita, salvando situazioni fuori controllo con una grande professionalità, una grande calma, sangue freddo,
Calma.
sangue freddo,
Surely.
ed è quello per cui noi ti ringraziamo, io ti ringrazio per
Oh, prego. It's only me now.
Yeah, it's only you.
What's going on, Domenico? Maybe forse puoi scrivergli su WhatsApp o chiamarlo perché
Sì.
ci sono solo io e
Certo.
loro non esistono.
Certo. Vediamo. È successo.
La connessione è caduta, però ci siamo, insomma, quando
Sì.
vuole entrare. Forse si può direttamente chiamare.
Ah,
Dice qualcosa.
no, è che io mi sono disconnessa perché appunto ero in una cioè sono qua in una conferenza e avevo tolto
Ah, eri in modalità aereo.
ero in modalità
Sì.
aereo naturalmente,
Ecco, sì,
come
sì,
faccio
si può.
sempre, e quindi la devo togliere. Vediamo
It's nice to have people. Infatti.
se... Eccoli,
Oh, bene, bene, well. Sta usando Teams.
va bene. Ok.
No, sta usando Zoom. Mi stava chiamando con Zoom, forse. Allora.
Dico di riprovare?
Sì, di provare a entrare con lo
Riprovate
stesso
con
invito.
Zoom e
Lo stesso invito, ma
lo stesso invito.
ecco,
Questo è bello,
benissimo,
un bel
siete
suono.
tornati bene. Bene, bene, siamo stati zitti, non abbiamo detto niente intanto che non c'eravate.
Mi dispiace molto, qua è saltato il cavo generale d'alimentazione.
Se rido.
Sai quelle cose che...
Certo.
Scusate, siamo
No,
qua.
no, scusate voi, l'importante è che ci sentiate, che vediate il PowerPoint del professore che è gentilissimo. Thank you very much.
No,
We are
it's
sorry.
Sorry, Zdravko.
I give you.
we are all used to this. Yeah. 1823. So this is Vuk in Vuk Stefanović Karadžić in the introduction. He is describing a practice of guslars. Today's heroic songs are the most often and most vividly sung in Bosnia, Herzegovina, and Montenegro, as well as in the hilly regions of southern Serbia. In these places, even today, there is a gusle in almost every house, and especially in habitats of shepherds, it is difficult to find a man who does not know how to play the gusle. Women and girls know it too. In the lowland parts of Serbia, around the Sava River and around the Danube, gusle are rarer, but I still think that one can find it in each village, especially on the left side of the Morava River. So this is from his preface to the volume 1. And then he included this picture, which some people think that it's his portrait, but it might be more fairy tale than true. But this picture became some sort of stereotype. And you can find in Serbian, throughout 19th century, in Serbian iconography, a lot of pictures like that. I just brought one. You see, it's a kind of same idea, and I think that these pictures might have been hanging in middle class houses, homes, as a symbol of identity, Serbian identity, because we will come to that a little later. So returning to travelers. John Gardner Wilkinson published in 1848 his book Traveling in Montenegro, and here he describes Montenegrin bards constantly sing to an admiring audience the glorious deeds of their warriors, accompanying themselves with their favorite gusle. This instrument has been employed by all the Slavonic tribes from the earliest times, and the name guslar or player on the cithara, being applied to a wizard, appears to argue the use of it in the days of the pagan superstitions. It has only one string, stretched from a long neck over a round body, like a guitar, and it is played with the bow. So you see how he was a traveler, and he tried to be ethnologist, but he made a number of mistakes in this description. But then he goes on. After dinner, it was proposed that I should hear the gusla, or Slavonic violin, and some of the songs of their bards, which on a frontier constantly resounding with the din of arms, and hailed with the delight of every Montenegrin. Independent of the gratification of my curiosity, I was glad to have the opportunity of witnessing the stirring effect produced by these songs. The subjects related to their contests with their enemies, the vain hopes of the Turks to subdue their country, and the glorious victories obtained over them, both by themselves and the heroes of Serbia, in some of which the armed bard may have had his share of glory. And this description is very good because it points exactly what I will show you a little later. These men are warriors, and no one would venture to sing of deeds he could not emulate. The sounds of the gusla were not according to European taste. It's the same idea as Lovridge was saying, that Italians annoyed with it. And the tune was only varied by the intonation of the voice, but the enthusiasm of the performer compensated for the monotony of the one-string instrument. And he included also a picture of the guslar. Notice on this picture, because we will come back to that, how simple is the neck of the gusla. The top, there is just a stick and no decoration. And then we come to another a picture of a guslar. Ludwig Kuba was a folklorist who was in the late 19th century traveling Bosnia, Dalmatia, Herzegovina, collecting songs. But he was also a very accomplished painter. In Prague National Museum, there is a whole range of his paintings. So that's why I like this picture, because he had the eye for visual side. And finally, like the stamps and currency, another interesting item that shows us reception are the postcards, because postcards are something that people send home to their family from trips. And obviously, every topic on a postcard is identification of the place, and that's why I put these 3 postcards here, because it's interesting how that they are from Dalmatia, Herzegovina. And now I come to my first part. Now I will stay for a while on the Croatian side. During the Croatian national movement of the 1830s and 1840s, that was supposed to advance the creation of the linguistic, ethnic, and political unity of all southern Slavs, basically creating Yugoslavia, because Yugoslavia was creating. The Gusle appropriated its emblematic symbolism because the instrument at that time had neither national nor religious appropriation. It was an instrument of the region, and epics were then not only transcribed and presented in published collections in Croatia, but the writers were also attempted to create their own poetry in decasyllabic verses in the traditional style. One of the most famous, again, that every Croatian kid studies in school is Smrt Smile Aga Cengića, The Death of Smile Aga Cengić, by Ivan Mažuranić, written in 1845. And it describes events from 1840, like 5 years earlier events, when Ottoman general Smile Aga Cengić in Bosnia was killed by Montenegrin Novica Cerović. And this was at that time like a news program, cinema reel, that the Guslars were, and in now during the wars of 1990s, these Guslars were talking about Serbian wars and Croatian wars and international court in Hague and all current events. So this Smile Aga Cengić epic is interesting to me because in the 4th chapter there is epic within epic. Epic within epic, the insert talks has a Guslar who is talking all bad deeds that Smile Aga has done, collecting taxes and so on. So it's interesting literary form that you have epic included in an epic. And here it's one Art Nouveau illustration from 1922 where you see the Guslar actually is presenting this inserted epic. So it's an interesting literary form. Next, 1841, this was a weekly magazine for culture. And every week, it was coming every week. And you see, this was the heading and all symbolism, national symbolism. And there is a Gusle on the left side. And then another symbolic items. This was the stage from the first Croatian theater, in the curtain in the first Croatian theater, painted in 1845, where in the medallion is representing a piece of poetry that again every Croatian kid now still learns now about a grandfather who is giving down his knowledge, and grandfather is Guslar and giving knowledge with Gusle, but the song says, I am giving you the knowledge that is old knowledge, but you will need to buy a new Gusle because it's a new renewal, and everybody needs a new instrument. You inherit knowledge but not the instrument. And then this is one iconic a painting in Croatian art by Mata Celestin Medovic, a Dalmatian artist. It represents arrival of Croatians to Dalmatia in the 7th century. And you see this man at the back. You see he has Gusle on his back. So basically, you are arriving to a new homeland, but you are bringing Gusle, and with the Gusle, you are bringing all your tradition that you brought from the old place. So Gusle is this connector with the old place. So it's interesting how Gusle is in every was so symbolic in this very pointed places, like heading of the main Croatian magazine. At that time, it was the only Croatian magazine. You cannot have a more important piece of visual art than curtain in the local theater that you sit in the theater and you are staring at until the show starts. So all these key elements, visual elements, had Gusle, and that was fascinating to me. And this is one picture from 1860 that is not that iconic, but it's interesting to me because I will compare it with some other similar picture. How Guslers were performing. This is from Dubrovnik, Ragusa. How Guslers were performing for their audience. And you see this picture, and there is another. This was another traveler, again in Dubrovnik. So the similarity between this picture and this picture is not that different. That's why it has for me certain documentary value, how Guslers were interpreting their poetry for the audience. These three pictures again have a important, I think, documentary value, how Guslers were performing, because they come from Kronprinzenwerk. It's a encyclopedia that Prince Rudolf started in 1888 and published 24 volumes, each volume describing one region of Austria or Hungary, and the edition was published in Hungarian and in German. So in volumes for Dalmatia and Bosnia and Herzegovina, we have these three pictures, and since this was publication with some kind of scholarly pretension, the pictures actually document how Guslers were performing. Again, performer and the audience. And finally, I come to the ceiling of the Dubrovnik Theater, which you see on the left is the whole ceiling, and in the bottom down there is a Gusler that you see on the right, and it's this image is straight above the stage, and I interpret it as Gusler is here a symbolic figure that is interpreting for the audience what is happening on the stage. And I think it's not by accident that the artist actually signed the ceiling just next to the foot of the Gusler. And I have been in his house that is now Memorial House, and he actually owned Gusle. And so, just with one picture, I will go to Serbia, because I think it's important picture. It's a photograph from 1905, which Gusler, Nadezhda Petrović was a Serbian painter in early 20th century. And she was also nationalistic person, very much involved with patriotic causes. And this is a picture, she on the left with her 3 sisters at their garden party. And in 1905, in their garden party, they had a Gusle. I wish I would know what this Gusle was singing about. You know, do you really think about heroic deeds of Serbs in when everybody is drinking around? So it's iconic picture. It's interesting photograph for me. And on the right you have again Gusle and his audience. This is a Gusle obviously who was begging for money. And throughout the 20th century you would find in Serbia and especially in Kosovo, I will show you later one picture, where Guslers were actually singing for money for because that was the way how they were supporting themselves. What fascinated me, that what I said before, that in every Serbian military conflict I am finding Guslers. Guslers, I mean, but this should not be that surprising, because Guslers have been always excellent communicators. They are familiar with historical events. They are able to transform narrative symbolism and historical memory into message that is resonating with contemporary audience. And in this message, it's easily to include the empathy for the fighters, and it's easy to talk about shared history, heroic deeds, narrative symbolism, and also include certain references to their commanders. And this was like building the cult of authority. You know, when you talk about historical events and then suddenly switch into current narrative and talk about that your commander is the best commander in the world, and then you go back, and it's also that obviously that had significance for building morale in the units, military units. The most revered Serbian poet of epics was Filip Višnjić. That's the one that I showed you at the beginning on Bosnian currency and Serbian currency. And he was directly involved with the first Serbian uprising against Ottomans between 1804 and 1813. He performed at military camps, and we have preserved from him 13 original epics and 4 his reinterpretations that talk about Serbian uprising. And these epics are like a historical narrative. This is the history of the events. And then when in 1883 came out biography of George Petrovich Karađorđe, who was the military leader, what is on the cover page? It's a big picture of Filip Višnjić, not of Karađorđe. Karađorđe is on the opposite side. So you see how his importance, how important was his narrative even 50 years later, and even 150 years later that they put him on the currency, and even 200 years later that the Bosnians put him on currency now, current currency. Then next war. Nicola Lazzaro was a journalist of Illustrazione Italiana, and he was Illustrazione Italiana sent him to the front lines of Serbian-Ottoman War in 1876-78. And this was a big event in Europe, probably like Ukraine today. And you see, this is one picture from when he came back. He published this a book, La Serbia, and this is one picture in the book where he pictured reporters from different European newspapers, how they are meeting around, and obviously it was like a news pool, what CNN would call a news pool. And here he included a picture, and he says in the book, I think I have, yes, I have it, the description in Italian, so you can read. So he's talking about King Lazar, and I would probably skip the topic, but it's interesting that King Lazar and this topic comes over and over and over and over, and I will show you in a minute how he is coming back in Bosnian epics, because King Lazar was leading. He led the Bosnian units in the Kosovo battle in 1389, and this was battle against the Ottomans. So you have this polarity between Christianity and Islam, and in Kosovo, Islam was most successful and won the battle over Christianity, and that you have that. It goes through history, Serbian history, for hundreds of years, and it returned in Bosnia. So that's why I wanted to mention it here. And then we have here, Petar Perunović. You see, the guy has gun in one hand and Gusle in the other hand. He was super famous Gusler in in Balkan Wars, 12-13, and later on during the World War I, he was sent to the United States to fundraise with his Gusle playing, because obviously epics were patriotic, and when you have a patriotic epic and talking about war necessities in Serbia, you can talk to you can collect money. So in the discharge letter from the Serbian army in 1913, so this is just before at the end of First Balkan War and just before World War I. So this discharge letter says, Petar Perunović from Montenegro, a Serbian Gusle volunteer, participated in the Serbian-Turkish War of 1912-13 on the battlefield of the Ibar Army and the Third Army. During this campaign, serving in the combat of a fighter and also as a Guslar singer poet, he was good and courageous, obedient, and behaving appropriate at all occasions. With his singing among the soldiers on the battlefield, he greatly delighted the troops and raised their morale. For this reason, he was everywhere welcomed, recommended, and promoted to the rank of infantry sergeant in the Morava district of the Second Command. So with this, his Gusle playing, he actually made the military career. Yes, so in 1916 he was in the United States fundraising, and not only that he was fundraising money, but apparently he was so successful that about 10,000 volunteers from the United States sailed back to Serbia to fight on the Serbian side against the Central Powers. And then fast forward 20 years, here we have a picture from World War One. Katarina Sturzenegger was a Swiss journalist who was traveling. She entered Serbia from Greece and then traveled up north. And when she came back up to Belgrade, she made this picture. Unfortunately, in the book, there is only half a sentence about the Gusle. How happy are soldiers when in breaks they can between military operations they can actually play Gusle and eat beans. So there is nothing more than that. But the picture is more important than the text because it shows how Guslar was a part of the unit. He's sitting here next to all these guys with the guns, and so it's obviously it was his role was recognized and important. And I was trying to find any Gusle in World War II. I did not find any, except that Milovan Djilas, that some may know, he was important after after the war as a minister in cabinet of Tito. In his memoirs, he mentioned that in units they had a Guslar. But I think that in World War II we probably do not need to look too hard for Guslar because partisans were a communist movement, and communists are more for internationality than for nationality, and Gusle are Serbian symbol of Serbian nationality. So it was different political mind frame, and that's why I think that there are no. I mean, there were Guslars, but I did not find any prominent Guslar. So now I want to put this Gusle because it was made. Supposedly, it is in Belgrade Museum, and it was made supposedly in during World War One, and it has this decoration in the form of Serbian national emblems. But I will come to that later. I just wanted to show you the instrument because it corresponds with the time of these Guslars. So now we come to Bosnian War. This is a picture of I don't want to say Guslar, of a Serbian militant posing with the Gusle. Because you see that obviously at this moment he is not playing a Gusle, and a gun is next to him. The picture was taken by a journalist of Serbian newspaper Pogled from Kragujevac, Serbia, in East Sarajevo on 25th September 1995. And okay, you might think, okay, he's posing with the Gusle. Maybe it's a Guslar. He is not singing at this moment, but okay. And then you search further internet, and look what you find. You find the same person in the same location, actually posing. And it was a moment, we don't know what was the purpose, why he needed this picture. But obviously, not every person holding Gusle is a Guslar. But the symbol of the instrument was so strong that he wanted to have a picture taken with the instrument, because instrument represents him. I am Serbian. Um, and you see, this picture was used on the cover of a Russian book that is describing defeat of the Republic of Srpska Krajina. And then I found this same picture used 2 or 3 times on a very nationalist website of the Center for the Research of the Orthodox Monarchism. And the monarchism defined its own mission on the website, promoting, witnessing, and affirming Orthodox monarchist and Serb values, advocating for the restoration of Orthodox monarchy as the original form of Serbian statehood. Research work in the field of theology, historiography, heraldry, law, philosophy, and related sciences, and the commitment to apply the center's research achievements in ways that can contribute to the spiritual, national, and cultural renewal of the Serbian people. And that such a center is using a man with Gusle as in iconic places. So this was interesting to me. And then there is another Serbian militant from the early 1990s. I don't know who he is, but this picture is even more interesting than the first one. Obviously, with a cigarette, you are not singing epics. You are not singing if you have a bomb on a belt hanging, and you are not playing Gusle in the gloves. The other thing that is here interesting is the portrait behind him. It's Petar Petrović Njegoš, Montenegrin Vladika. He was born in 1813 and died 1851, and he was a poet who wrote Gorski Vijenac, the Mountain Wreath. It is a decasyllabic poem written in 1847, and talks about he used the allegorical historical event that took place on Christmas Day in the early 1700s, and it talks about Montenegrin defeat of Ottomans. So again, we have this polarity between Serbian or Montenegrin side and Islam, and Islam has to be defeated. So, and there are two verses that are especially frequently quoted even in the Bosnian War. Let there be endless struggle. Let there be what cannot be. On the grave flowers will grow for distant future generations. So let's kill everybody, and the flowers will be renewal. And you see, again, there is a Kalashnikov rifle next to this guy. So obviously here and even today, oh, I don't. Okay, you can find on the internet even today a lot of music on YouTube, very nationalistic music that came from the wars of 1990s, and it's still there. In 1990s, there were a lot of cassette tapes. I don't think that anybody is listening cassette tapes anymore, but they are interesting documents that are reminding us of these difficult days. So now I want to stay a little bit in Bosnia. there is this is a documentary done by BBC in 1992 in the hills and mountains above Sarajevo, and the documentary is called Serbian Epics because it connects past with present, and it's I'll let you watch, and then we can.
Hej, gusle moje, najdraža muziko, na koju je srpski rod naviko, o dolasku na Balkan Slovena, od vas Srbin ništa preče nema. Od kako vas moja ruka uze, koliko sam puta otro suze, spominjući rane roda moga, i sam ne bi izabro ja ti moga. Srbi braćo, gdje god ima koga, ja s pomoći Boga velikoga, radi krsta i vjere hrišćanske, radi naše otadžbine carske, pozivam vas u boj na Kosovo, da branimo ime. Srbino od Turaka na Kosovu polju, zaklinje vas jer je.
You know, and this film is in a way it showed me how probably all these previous Guslers were singing in all these previous wars, because the difference was not that much. There was not that much difference, because he is sitting there and singing about all the heroism of all Serbs from the past and always being defeated. And so, but this is not all. Oops, it's oh,
You have to click.
okay. Here I am. Some of us older probably remember Radovan Karadžić, who was here it says poet and psychiatrist, but he was also the leader of the Serbian nationalists, and now is in sentence for genocide and sitting in a jail, sentence for life. And I will show you the clip now where he is actually in the same movie representing himself. And this is kind of autobiographical self-representation. Here, who I am. And he is in the house of Vuk Stefanović Karadžić, the 19th century linguist and folklorists, and he is making a connection that they are related, but actually it's fake, because Karadzic was Serbian from Vuk Karadzic was from Serbia, and Radovan Karadzic was from Montenegro. So it was an accident, coincidence that they had the same name. But for him, in his nationalistic propaganda, it was very useful to be connected to folklorist, revered figure in Serbian history, cultural history from the 19th century. So it's interesting how he manipulates the history.
This is Vuk Karadzic's house. This is Saint Michael the Archangel, patron saint of our family Karadzic. The most famous Karadzic was Vuk Karadzic, who is founder of modern Serbian culture. He revived Serbian medieval culture, which was buried down in memory of people during long centuries of Turkish occupation. And that's his portrait. We have this thing in common. My son has it also. Vino piju 30 kapetana u prostranoj gori Romani. U nekakvoj ledenoj pećini, među njima mitre kapetane.
He was not as good as the professionals.
My favorite epic is probably Last Supper, which has something to do with Jesus Christ.
Something to do with Jesus Christ, you know?
Supper, and is symbolizing Serbian faith. And after that Last Supper, we have lost our empire. Tsar Lazar is conceived to be saint because of his sacrifice.
This is what I was saying before, that Gusle is inserting references to his commander. And this is, you know, he's the guy with the beard drinking rakia. He is the commander. That's the commander. And what he's singing is again singing about Kosovo and the loss of Kosovo and Islam winning. And now, because Islam has won, then now we have to recover our faith. And so it's and you know, you see this all epics about him And you can, I mean, when I was going in Belgrade, you would find this on the street, and New York Times. I have a report. They were reporting that after the war, when he came to Belgrade, of course he was undercover with the long beard. Nobody would recognize him. He had his kafana, his bar, where he would go and sing epics, whatever he made out of it, about himself. How he was a Serbian hero and he was winning the war. And I found only this report in New York Times in 2008 when they were talking about the history. This journalist was in Belgrade during the war, and he was talking about the past. So now I come to the instrument itself, the last sections. Popularity of epics accompanied by Gusle at the time of national struggles among both Serbs and Croats during the 1990s influenced the morphological change of the instrument. 19th century instruments. I started working on this because every European museum of musical instruments has a Gusle. Because this is such an iconic instrument and everybody wants to show it. And when I was looking at these instruments, they are always plain decoration at the top. And this instrument, and then I realized that these instruments in European museums are all from late 19th century or 1920s. And then you come to a page in description of instruments by Franjo Ksaver Kuhac, who was Croatian ethnologist, music historian. He did a lot of things, and he's especially famous for publishing 4 volumes of folk songs, transcriptions of folk songs from all what used to be later Yugoslavia. He traveled for 10 years to every summer throughout the South Slavic territories. And he also collected instruments. So these instruments are from 1, 3, and 5 are from his own collection, and the other instruments are from that he found. And you see how these instruments are at the top. It's either stick or nothing. And then these are instruments in Belgrade Museum of Ethnography in 1904 in their collection. Again, they are little decorated because, of course, they are museum exhibits, but there is nothing nationalistic, nothing big. And then this is interesting picture, 1936 Guslar. You see, there is nothing there, it's just a stick. Because at that time, there was no mass production of instruments. You cannot order instrument on internet like you can do it today. So many Guslars were making their own instruments. And Gusle is not so hard to make because you have one string on a stick. So you have to know how to make it, but it's possible. But there is no decoration. And then these are few instruments from the collection of Belgrade Museum. This is from 1920s and 1930s. You see at the top insignia of Kingdom of Serbs, Croats, and Slovenes, and that used to be a later Yugoslavia, and they all have decorations. At that here are few instruments from 1970s, 73, 74, 85. So means socialist Yugoslavia. Vuk Stefanović Karadžić, in 1824, he is talking in one paragraph how he met somebody in Budapest Serbian, who had instrument at home hanging in his room. He did not know how to play the instrument, but the instrument was hanging there. And in socialist Yugoslavia, every nationalism was absolutely forbidden, and you would not allow a Gusler to come on the stage with some nationalistic symbolism decorated on the instrument. So these instruments actually, not all, but some, for some we know what they were. And you see how these instruments do not have any wear. They look like they were made yesterday, and they are not dirty. An instrument, when it's used, it becomes dirty. So the first instrument on the left, this star, that was decoration received by partisans who joined the partisan movement in 1941. And it used to be called Spomenica. And in the 70s and 80s, they had huge privileges. And this was like, if you have a Spomenica and if you have this on your jacket, you get everything, car, apartment. So that is symbolism. The second instrument has on the top this 6 flames, which was a state emblem of Yugoslavia, and below there is it's hard to see, but there is a Marx, Engels, Lenin, and Tito. And the third instrument has flames down, and at the top is Tito carved. So I think that these instruments actually ended up in the museum because they are so decoratively interesting, but actually they were not used for playing. They were used for display in homes as a national sign of national belonging. And the middle instrument was received by a very famous opera singer when he had to Bosnia, to his birthplace. So in the Sindakor, whoever gave him this as recognition in the place. And if you remember, at the beginning I show you one instrument. That instrument came also from such a home of actually Serb in Switzerland, and it was acquired by our friend Martin Kinpoward, who some of us know, and he actually acquired it for Serbian Museum. And because so these instruments are part of identity and not used for playing, but for symbolic reasons. And this is interesting because it's an instrument on display now at the Metropolitan Museum in New York. Metropolitan Museum has 6 Gusle. And this one they acquired in 1992. It was made in 1930s. They don't know what is its history, but they acquired it in 1992, but they displayed it only in 2019. Because I talked to Ken Moore, the curator, and he said, I never felt comfortable displaying this instrument because it's so nationalistic, and I did not want to highlight the nationalism of the instrument. Then he retired, and because I should tell you, at the top in these three medallions, there are 3. There is King Alexander of Yugoslavia, King Nikola of Montenegro, and King Petar of Serbia on the front, and at the back is Tsar Dušan Njegoš, the poet, the Montenegrin poet that I was telling you before, and George Petrović Karađorđe, who was a military leader in the first Serbian uprising in early 19th century. So it's a very, very nationalistic iconography, but again, the instrument is so clean, and probably nobody has ever used it. But to me, it's interesting how museum first felt uncomfortable exhibiting nationalism on the instrument, and then they eventually did put it on. They don't really explain much, but Metropolitan Museum is art museum, and for current curators of musical instrument the collection, they like to see instruments as art objects, not as sound producing objects. And this is the case here of 6 Gusle that are more some of them are more would go to the came from probably from somebody performing instrument. They display the one that is most visually attractive and probably least musically important. So I put that only as a footnote because it's and you see this is today. I should say that traditionally, although Vuk Stefanović Karadžić says that some women were playing Gusle in 19th century, Gusle was generally a male instrument because we are talking about heroism, and so these are guslars from different parts. Middle one, center one is Serbian, on the sides are Croatian, and in 1990s. So what happened? What happened here? You see this person. You know, this was the first Croatian president, and this was a big festival on the main square in Zagreb 2 hours after the parliament decided of independent Croatian state in 1990. Tudjman was the first president of Croatia. Behind him is a prime minister. Here next to the picture is the Croatian Cardinal Kuharić, who was there at that time. And who is next to Tudjman? Is the Guslar that I played you at the very beginning, because he was such iconic performer that Tudjman used him to perform before political meetings. Here he was not performing, but he was carrying in front of Tudjman Croatian historical national flag. And so this is interesting for social position of a Guslar even in 1990. He's interesting because he released every year, almost every year, one cassette tape. And through these cassette tapes, when you put them all together, you could almost follow Croatian history. So look at his instruments. You see, it starts in 84 with a simple instrument, and the same instrument is in 88, and the same instrument is 93. And what happens between 93 and 94? He acquired a new instrument with the big Croatian iconography. And what was happening at that time? It was a war in Croatia. So obviously, instrument is in some way or in many ways extension of a musician. And when Guslar starts singing, very often he invokes help of Jesus, please help me, and there is two verses of religious with the religious significance. Or very often Guslars start with a self-introduction. I am Guslar from this village, and I am this and that, and I will tell you this and that. When you have an instrument with such a rich nationalistic iconography, you don't need to introduce yourself because everybody sees that you are this just by looking at your instrument. And here is his instrument. Here is him and his instrument. So it's interesting, to see what he has. You see, because I said before, on it's not like on a violin that you use whole neck. In Gusle uses only one position, up and down. So you have a lot of real estate, a lot of space to decorate an instrument. So at the top there is eagle, of course. I mean, eagle is always eagle. After that, you have a picture of King Tomislav, or it's assumed that he was king, who it's believed was the founder of Croatian state in a kingdom in 925. Below that, down, you have a Croatian Franciscan writer from the 18th century who was a Guslar and a religious writer, and he was very, very famous and influential on Guslars in Dalmatia. And his portrait is in the background is Croatian coat of arms, and the bow is in the shape of a snake. So you see how in one moment the iconography of instrument changed. Nothing changed musically with instrument, but the instrument became this big iconographic symbolic item that introduces the singer. This is a Gusle maker in Novi Sad in Vojvodina. And it's interesting, you see here, he's of course Serbian instrument maker. And you see here, he's carving, they are not really well made, but they do represent Serbian historical heroes or Serbian saints. So whatever you want to have on your Gusle, you can have it. And it's you can commission Gusle with this or that, and obviously there are not that many Guslars around, because in Serbia people still buy Gusle as a family symbol to hanging on the wall. I did not say anything about Albanians, and that is interesting because in Albania it's Lahuta, and the decoration comes from the helmet of Skanderbeg. Skanderbeg was Albanian military leader in 15th century. And his helmet is still preserved in Kunsthistorisches Museum in Vienna. So Albanian Gusle inherited symbolism of Skanderbeg. But it's the same instrument. And when I was in Kosovo in 1986, I took this picture of this nice fellow. I talked to him. He was Albanian. It spoke in kind of broken Serbian. And all my life, I believed he's playing Gusle. Until one moment, I realized, you idiot, he's not playing Gusle, he is playing Lahuta. Because he is Albanian in Kosovo. And he has this goat antlers on the top, and of course, but you see how instrument is the same, and just the decoration it makes a difference. So Lahuta appropriated this national characteristics in its decorations. I don't really know how far back, but I think at least maybe in the 30s or 40s, but I'm not sure. And Croatians and Serbians, the same, for Croatians and Serbians, the decoration did not make any difference until the wars of 1990s. And in the wars of 1990s, suddenly one instrument that was the same instrument for the whole region became two, because now, because of decoration, Croatian a singer will not take instrument with Serbian heroes depicted and the other way around. And here I end the talk with this our friend sports memorabilia. Novak Djokovic went to Montenegro. And you need to have a picture with Gusle because it's your national identity. So thank you very much. Nico, are you there?
Oh, Zdravko. Thank you very much for your so interesting presentation. We can, as you prefer, I can just give few comments on your presentation.
Yes.
Because tomorrow you'll be here.
Yes.
So we have another afternoon. We have time to discuss more in deep, and also the PhD students in Ravenna, if they have the possibility and they like, we can share your presentation tomorrow through Teams.
Uh-huh.
What do you say, Donatella and Nicoletta? I don't know if the PhD, but anyway,
Yeah.
we will have time to
Yes.
discuss this topic tomorrow.
Yeah.
And for now.
And for now, what are you suggesting, Nico?
Come voi preferite, cioè domani lui sarà qua e abbiamo 2 ore di tempo per parlare ancora di questi
Sì,
argomenti.
sì, no, ma sì, certo.
Se gli studenti vostri sono interessati e disponibili, possiamo continuare domani alle 17 a partire dai miei dalle suggestioni che mi sono arrivate, da quello che posso dire sull'intervento, sulla relazione di Zdravko. Se loro non ci sono, lo facciamo anche in breve adesso e poi lo sviluppiamo solo qui a Bologna.
No, ecco, certo, no, direi che yes, now we can go ahead with suggestions, comments, and so.
Okay.
And yeah, because you see, I don't know if tomorrow the same people can be looking at the screen. You see, because
to go that in this way.
Yeah, yes, it's better
So,
maybe.
not so much, just briefly.
No,
because
yes,
it was
briefly.
very interesting.
Yeah. In any case, it's 6 o'clock, so we can have a quarter of an hour if you like, or for
Yes, 10
comment.
minutes, or I don't know, but I have just some maybe things about the more general context in which this kind of instrument is played, because I'm not a specialist of this kind of instruments, nor of this area. I was traveling, doing field work in Kosovo, in the Albanian part, so from the other side, and on the border, and with another kind of musicians, socially really different from the epic song players. But I had the occasion to meet many of them and to record them also, but with another instrument. It means with chifteli and sharki, that are the other way to accompany epic songs in Kosovo, from the, not exactly from the Albanian side, I can say, but from the Ottoman side, no, of this so complicated border between many different cultures, languages, and political problems, as is evident. So, the first one observation is that this kind of instrument with this morphology in general terms is not only spread in Serbia, Croatia, Albania, Montenegro, and so on, but follows a road that arrives up to China, no? I want to say that instruments with just one string, with a bow, and with a head that is often a horse head, they exist through Turkey and so on up to the China, no? And that they are linked to the accompaniment of epic songs in all these so big area. And the Gusle laute is a specialization, a local specialization of this so big, no? Presence of this kind of instruments linked to the epic songs accompaniment. I don't know exactly, but this is a problem, that a question that I was posing to myself for a long time, and that maybe is a good occasion to share with Zdravko. Everywhere where there is this kind of instruments, that is a border with other instruments that are used to accompany the same kind of songs, of epic songs, but that are plucked instruments, as they are chifteli and sharki. It happens also in Turkey with kemençe and so on, going to east, no? And that's the first problem that I was posing to myself, how this border between plucked instrument and bowed instruments has consequences on the music, on the way to accompany epic songs, and on the melodies, and all that. This is not directly linked to the subject of this presentation of Zdravko, but is another question that we can add to all this so fascinating consideration of symbolism of those instruments. Also because everywhere they are linked to everything that, all the things that Zdravko described so deeply in so interesting way, that is linked to the war, to the national identity, no? And all the images that you showed, they are with horse or with a goat, no?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It changes around the first war, around the 20s, 30s, if no? Just one of the images that you showed is the Ludwig Kuba with the form of foglia. Madonna, come si dice in inglese? Sorry.
Leaf.
A leaf.
Yes, thanks. That is linked to other bowed instruments, the lira kind bowed instrument. But all the others are linked to horses and goats that are the traditional ones everywhere, no? Up to
Exactly.
China. It changes in the first part of 20th century, and with this other symbol that is eagle.
Yes.
that's strange, no? Because eagle is the symbol of victory, of war, of power, but in two different ways, if I understood correctly. It means one eagle in Croatia and often two eagles in Serbia. It's true?
Yes. And the Croatian eagle is, I think, more decorative. It's not really a symbol of the state. In Serbia, it's a symbol of the state, the the country, the state symbol. But also you have this the bird. Very often you have a bird at the top. But all these symbols are neutral. They are not either Serbian or Croatian. They are just decorative end of the thing. Because in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, during the communist years, the Tito and the power, socialist power, would not allow any nationalism.
Yes, of course.
So
Yeah.
the Guslar would not come with any nationalistic symbol on a Gusle. So all these instruments that we have from that time with the national symbolism are used only to display at home, to hang it at home,
Yes,
but not
yes,
to
yes,
be
yes.
played. And this is interesting to me, that I don't think you have too many instruments that you would hang at home, not because you want to play it or somebody would play it, but to display through the instrument your national identity.
Yes, but now I have just two things. One is that it's very strange that because eagle here is also in the flag of Albania, no?
Yes, yes,
And that's something that
yes.
let's to think about. And the other is the instrument now in the true use of the instrument is taking this very enormous space, this part,
Huge.
the upper part with the eagle and down, no, with a form that changes so deeply. now.
Yes. And it all happened in 1990s for Croatian and
Yes,
Serbs.
and that's happened in 1990s. That's very, very, very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. There was one Guslar. There was a guy running for mayor Sindako of Split, and he was owner of a supermarket chain.
Yeah.
Absolutely every political meeting, he started with Guslar, because Guslar would always say how wonderful he is, and it was verses about him. And not only that he is wonderful, but his supermarket is the best. And he lost elections, but the promotion of his supermarket was there. You know, he
Very rich.
you know.
Anyway.
Yeah. And the snake
Snake,
that I
yes.
saw in some of those new instruments, appearing
Yes.
in the 90s.
Yes.
Do you have any idea about why it springs out? Because the snake, the bow in form of snake, is also present in the other
Yes.
eastern part of diffusion of this kind of instrument. But here it appears very late, no, in some way.
Yes. I don't think that there is any. I think it's just decorative, because I have also saw bows in the shape of sword, you know, and these bows look to me so clumsy that I cannot imagine that a musician really enjoys playing with this big clumsy thing that
Yes.
serves no musical purpose. I don't know, you know, because snake you can make waves in but I don't know any significance.
Yeah. Okay, if you like, tomorrow we can start with some listening of players from Kosovo with with Sharkey and Cifteli, and try to think about and to speak about the differences and the ways in which they are oriented in this part that is of ex-Yugoslavia, that is a border part in which they are crossing Ottoman tradition, Albanian tradition, and Serbian Montenegrin tradition, no?
Yes, cool.
Ok.
Yeah.
Bene, posso chiedere se domani ci sarà la possibilità di collegarsi ad ascoltarvi?
Senza dubbio, molto facilmente, nel senso che io posso creare un'aula virtuale su Teams.
Sì.
Domani sarà alle 17, possiamo, prima di iniziare le lezioni, io creo l'aula virtuale, basta mandarmi una mail e inserisco chiunque, insomma, tra gli ascoltatori. Potete anche intervenire eventualmente.
Sì, sì, grazie Nico, perché penso che Alessia o altri potrebbero essere molto interessati ad ascoltare l'altra, cioè la seconda parte, diciamo, no? Della lezione.
Sì, la parte, diciamo,
kosovara, certo.
Di quel luogo che poi è al centro di tutte queste narrazioni epiche, perché il Kosovo-Poli e la battaglia del Kosovo, no, è uno dei repertori fondamentali di questa tradizione epica.
Okay.
Va bene, allora sì, grazie Zdravko, noi ci vediamo domani.
Sì.
E con voi ci vediamo eventualmente, con chi di voi intende esserci, domani su Teams ancora.
Benissimo, grazie. Adesso chiedo se ci sono domande in sala.
Sì, certo.
E naturalmente, certo, c'è Alessia che può avere la parola. Yes, please.
Sì, solo just a quick point.
I don't know if they listen to you,
Yeah.
so please go.
Thank you.
Near. Yeah.
So, first of all, when it comes to the ancient sources, to the travelogues and so on, in fact, in the text that I am examining at the moment, there are various references to musical events or instruments that seem to be the Gusle or Guslars playing, but they don't mention the name of the instrument. Instead, they talk about they speak with Western terms, you know.
Yes.
And so this leads me to a question: could the European or the Eurocentric perspective we usually find in European travelogues have influenced the perception or the transmission of knowledge about the Gusle?
Oh yes, I think so, because we look in anything that we know, and we don't look what we don't know, and all these Westerners traveling there, and this is the same thing. Westerners traveling to Africa, they don't understand their music, so basically they dismiss it. So that's why I think we have to be careful when we read these travelogues and this because it's always colored with the personal experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's that is also interesting because it's sort of a reception, and you see how Westerners were looking at these people, it's ethnologically interesting because you can figure out and guess what you can trust in the rest of the text.
Thank you very much.
And me too have a question very, very linked to this one because, the very first time which I read about Gusle was in Milman Perry,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
and my question is, but did Milman Perry and Albert Betzlor influence the reception of the
Yes.
Gusle in the countries of
Yes.
you mentioned?
That's what I meant.
You know,
Okay.
there is a myth. I don't know if it's true or not, that Perry was paying Guslers by verse, and that the Guslers were going on and on and on and on and on and on to earn more money.
Yeah, because
So that would mean that these epics were created on the spot, but also, but you know, on the other hand, it means that what is his name? The main guy who was singing for him, Međedović, that he was so skillful that he knew how to build the narrative as long as it needs to be until it comes to the dinner, and then after lunch he starts and goes until the next dinner. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
About that, I can add that in Kosovo, the epic song quite disappeared during the 60s, 50s, 60s, because of the support of the 45 RPM, that was not
Yes.
enough to record an entire song, and that was it has a new fortune during the 60s, 70s with the cassette, music cassette, as Zdravko was speaking about that, and on the cassette was the name of the Guslar, the Lauta, because often they are Cifteli, but with the name and Homeri Kosovar. So Homeri, it becomes from Perry and Lord, of course.
Yes.
I don't think that the memory of Homer was alive in Kosovo during the first part of the 20th century.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is something that in folk production, for little market and so on.
But you say it's also interesting how Perry was successful I mean to sell his book even to Kosovo,
Yes.
or idea.
Is this which I mentioned before? Because I think that also the reception of Perry and Lord is interesting to study, to understand, and because we hear like a classic. When I was a classical philologist, I had just one side of the memory of the cultural reception and so. But now I am very interested to understand how much did they influence their country, the country of where they took away this kind of songs and so on. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Something that I can add about old sources, 19th century sources, and is that everywhere there is the word monotonia.
Yeah.
And about the ethnocentric idea of this kind of music, that's very interesting. Any description in 2 centuries has the monotonia of the melody. That is
but it's interesting that it was so monotonic and it should be translated boring, but it has still this tradition and reception, and everybody wanted to listen to it.
So thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Tonight we had put together both the sides of this very, very long Homeric questions, but it was not it was not the only result, the only success of this very, very interesting conference. And so thank you very much to Zdravko, thank you Nico, to share with us this afternoon, and so I hope that there will be other occasions to stay at only one table together. Bye.
Bye.
See
Thanks,
you.
Donatella, Nicoletta, Alessia. See you tomorrow, Zdravko.
See you.
Yes.